First, Publix is warning shoppers to check your pantries after yet another food recall.
Simple white powder, the foundation of every recipe your grandmother made. But how much do you actually know about what's in that bag? From chemical bleaching agents to corporate consolidation that's eliminated real consumer choice, the Canadian flour aisle isn't as straightforward as it appears. For parents teaching kids to bake, or grandparents making homemade bread for family dinners, understanding what you're actually buying matters. In today's video, we're examining 7 flour brands that may not be what you think they are. Stay tuned until the end, because we'll reveal 2 brands that prioritize transparency and traditional methods. Number 7, Robin Hood, that iconic green and red logo. The archer, who's been a symbol of Canadian baking since 1909, when Francis Atherton Bean opened a mill in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. Ask any Canadian family and chances are, Robin Hood has been in their pantry for 3, maybe 4 generations. Your grandmother used it, your mother used it. It's practically a national institution. Here's what many Canadians don't realize about their beloved brand. Robin Hood is no longer Canadian-owned. The J.M. Smucker Company, an American corporation headquartered in Ohio, acquired Robin Hood in 2004 when they purchased International Multi-Foods. 2 years later, Smuckers sold the actual milling operations to Cargill's Horizon Milling Division for $78 million while keeping the retail brand rights. In 2017, Robin Hood was at the center of a significant E. coli 0121 recall. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency traced contamination to flour produced at Ardent Mills in Saskatoon. 30 Canadians fell ill. A 2-year-old boy from Grand Forks, British Columbia, spent 4 weeks in hospital after eating raw cookie dough made with Robin Hood flour. Now here's what's important to understand. This recall actually demonstrates Canada's food safety system working as intended. Contamination was detected, products were pulled from shelves, and the public was notified promptly. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency's investigation identified the source and prevented further illness. The truth is, E. coli contamination is a risk with all raw flour, not just specific brands. As the Public Health Agency of Canada warns, it is not safe to taste or eat raw dough or batter regardless of the type of flour used, as raw flour can be contaminated with harmful bacteria such as E. coli. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency confirmed that wheat is a raw agricultural product exposed to possible sources of contamination during growing and harvesting. This is why Canadian health authorities consistently warn against eating raw dough or batter, regardless of what brand you use. The real concern with Robin Hood isn't safety, it's transparency and consumer choice. When you buy Robin Hood, you're supporting an American corporation that owns multiple Canadian flour brands, creating the illusion of marketplace competition where little exists. If you prefer to support genuinely independent Canadian operations, or want flour produced with different methods, Robin Hood may not align with your values. On Health Canada requires white flour to be fortified with B vitamins, iron, and folic acid to prevent nutrient deficiencies. The folic acid fortification specifically helps prevent neural tube birth defects in newborns. This isn't a negative, it's preventive public health in action. Robin Hood's conventional flour is treated with bleaching agents to achieve that pure white color, while Health Canada permits chlorine and chlorine dioxide for flour treatment and considers them safe at approved levels. Some consumers prefer unbleached alternatives. That's a legitimate personal choice. Number 6, Rogers Foods, British Columbia's own, founded in the Okanagan Valley over 75 years ago. Mills in Armstrong and Chilliwack producing flour from Western Canadian wheat. Sounds like everything you'd want in a Canadian flour brand, right? Rogers Foods has been majority owned by Nissin Flour Milling, a subsidiary of Japan's Nissin Seifen Group, since 1989. That's over 3 decades of Japanese ownership, during which the company has actually expanded its Canadian operations significantly, investing in modern milling technology and maintaining facilities in British Columbia. Here's what matters. Regardless of where a company's headquarters are located, flour sold in Canada must comply with Canadian Food Inspection Agency regulations. During the 2017 E. coli outbreak period, Rogers Foods faced its own separate recall. The British Columbia Centre for Disease Control found E. coli 0121 in Rogers' all-purpose flour, but importantly, this was a different bacterial strain from the Robin Hood outbreak, indicating an unrelated contamination event. This actually reinforces an important point. E. coli contamination in flour is an agricultural reality that affects the entire industry. Wheat is a raw agricultural product exposed to possible sources of contamination during growing and harvesting. As the Canadian Food Inspection Agency noted, no brand, regardless of ownership or production methods, is immune to this risk. The recall system worked. Contamination was identified, products were pulled, and consumers were protected. Rogers recently announced they were discontinuing their dark rye flour product, citing difficult business decisions. The company continues to produce a range of conventional and specialty flours at their British Columbia facilities. If your priority is supporting a flour producer with exclusively Canadian ownership, Rogers doesn't fit that criterion. But ownership nationality isn't a food safety issue. It's a personal purchasing preference. Number 5. Five Roses. Montreal's skyline has featured that iconic Farine Five Roses sign since 1948. The red neon letters overlooking the St. Lawrence River have become so beloved that when the brand changed hands in 2006, public outcry saved the sign from being turned off permanently. But here's what most Canadians don't realize. The brand started in 1888 with the Lake of the Woods Milling Company in Keewatin, Ontario. It was genuinely Canadian. Then came Ogilvy Flour Mills in 1954. Then Archer Daniels Midland, the American agricultural giant, in 1994. Finally, Smucker's acquired the brand in 2006 and 2007. So that flour, with the proudly Canadian name, is now owned by the same Ohio-based corporation that owns Robin Hood. Buying Five Roses instead of Robin Hood doesn't actually diversify where your money goes. Five Roses uses bleached flour. Health Canada's list of permitted flour treatment agents allows chlorine and chlorine dioxide at levels determined by good manufacturing practice. These treatments are considered safe by Canadian regulators, but they are restricted in some other jurisdictions. The European Union, for example, does not permit chlorine, bromates, or peroxides for flour bleaching. If you prefer flour processed without chemical bleaching agents, Five Roses conventional products aren't your best choice. That's not a safety issue. It's a processing preference. The Five Roses Cookbook, first published in 1913, is the longest-running cookbook from a Canadian flour company. Generations of Canadian families have passed down recipes that call specifically for Five Roses. The flour itself remains a consistent, reliable product for baking. The question is whether brand heritage or corporate independence matters to your purchasing decisions. Number 4, Monarch Flour. Monarch represents high-quality Canadian flour, according to the Smucker's Company website. The brand is marketed as excellent for both baking and cooking. What they don't advertise is that Monarch is yet another brand in the Smucker's portfolio of Canadian flour names. The pattern should be clear by now. Robin Hood, Five Roses, Monarch, 3 supposedly different flour options on your grocery store shelf, all owned by the same American corporation. Monarch specializes in cake and pastry flour, the soft wheat variety used for delicate baked goods. The company describes it as made from 100% Canadian soft wheat, harvested at the peak of maturity, then milled and gently passed through a multi-stage sifting process. This is actually how cake flour is supposed to be made. The lower protein content creates tender, delicate baked goods. The enrichment adds back nutrients as required by Canadian regulations, which is a public health measure, not a shortcut. Monarch cake flour is bleached. That light color comes from chemical treatment. In cake flour specifically, bleaching serves a functional purpose beyond color. It affects the flour's ability to absorb liquid and creates a finer texture. Many professional bakers prefer bleached cake flour for certain applications. The issue with Monarch isn't the product quality, it's market consolidation. When one company controls multiple brands that appear to be competitors, consumers lose meaningful choice. If you're unhappy with Robin Hood and switch to Five Roses or Monarch, the same corporation benefits. The appearance of variety masks concentrated ownership. Smucker's alone controls Robin Hood, Five Roses, Monarch, Golden Temple, and Brody in Canada. Whether that consolidation concerns you is a personal judgment, but you should at least be aware of it when shopping. Number 3, Arva Flour Mill. Now here's where things get interesting. Arva Flour Mill sits on the banks of Medway Creek, just north of London, Ontario. Established in 1819, it claims to be North America's oldest continuously operating water-powered commercial flour mill. The heritage marketing is compelling. Visit their website and you'll find words like artisan, traditional, and family-run. They use vintage Goldie and McCullough cold roller mills installed in 1901. This sounds like exactly what consumers seeking alternatives to industrial flour might want. Traditional milling methods, local sourcing, a connection to history rather than corporate food production. So why is Arva on this list? Because heritage marketing requires careful examination. Arva Flour Mill sells conventional flour alongside their organic options. Their conventional flour comes from wheat grown using standard agricultural practices. The vintage milling equipment creates a different texture and retains more of the grain's natural characteristics than modern high-speed roller mills, which is genuinely appealing to many bakers. However, it's important to understand what traditional milling does and doesn't do. Stone or cold roller milling affects texture and nutrient retention. It doesn't eliminate agricultural realities. Conventional wheat may have been treated with pesticides before harvest. Traditional milling doesn't remove those residues. It just processes the wheat differently. The company's Daisy all-purpose flour is enriched, following the same Canadian fortification requirements as mass-produced flour. Their unbleached products are genuinely unbleached, which is a real differentiator from conventional grocery store brands. Arva sells products at premium prices based on their heritage story and artisanal methods. If you're paying extra specifically for unbleached flour with different milling characteristics, that's a legitimate value proposition. But be clear about what you're getting. The traditional milling method is the actual difference, not immunity from standard agricultural practices. Arva does offer certified organic and specialty grain options that address pesticide concerns. If those matter to you, look for their organic line specifically. Want to make more informed choices for your family? Hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss our videos examining what's really in your food. Number 2, Golden Temple. Walk into any Indo-Canadian grocery store and you'll find Golden Temple flour prominently displayed. The brand has built its reputation serving South Asian communities across Canada with durum atta, whole wheat flour, and specialty products for chapati and roti. Here's what many families don't realize. Golden Temple is owned by Smuckers, the same American corporation behind Robin Hood, Five Roses, and Monarch. When the company says they've been bringing quality wheat flour products to families for over 25 years, they're marketing a brand within a large corporate portfolio. In 2017, Golden Temple products were included in the E. coli 0121 recall. Golden Temple Suji Creamy Wheat was among the products identified by the Canadian Food Inspection Agency. The flour came from Ardent Mills in Saskatoon. Again, this reflects the industry-wide nature of agricultural contamination, not a problem unique to Golden Temple. The recall system functioned properly. Products were identified and removed. The flour meets Canadian regulatory standards for safety and quality. The enrichment provides mandatory nutrients. The product works well for its intended purpose of making traditional South Asian flatbreads. The issue is the same consolidation question that applies to all Smuckers brands. When you see a brand marketed specifically to your community, one that appears to understand your cultural cooking traditions, you might assume it's an independent company serving that community. In reality, it's part of a multinational corporation's brand portfolio. Whether that matters to you depends on your priorities. The flour itself is a functional product that does what it claims. The ownership structure is simply worth knowing. Number 1, Flourist. Vancouver's own Flourist has positioned itself as Canada's only source for 100% traceable grains, beans, and freshly milled flours. They use custom-built stone mills from Austria. They publish the names of the farms supplying their grain. They've built a beautiful bakery on Commercial Street, where customers can watch flour being milled on site. So why does Flourist top this list? Because Flourist represents a genuinely different approach to flour, but one that comes with its own limitations worth understanding. Flourist proves that traceable sourcing, stone milling, fresh flour without additives, organic certification, licensing, and direct relationships with farmers are all entirely possible in Canada. Their business model prioritizes transparency in ways that major brands simply don't offer. When the co-founders started this company, they thought they'd be milling for bakeries and restaurants. Instead, they discovered that professional kitchens weren't always interested because freshly milled flour is dynamic, varying from crop to crop, requiring bakers to adapt their methods. The customers who valued this most were home bakers and families willing to adjust their techniques. Here's the important caveat. Organic certification and stone milling don't eliminate E. coli risk. Contamination happens in agricultural fields from animal sources before harvest. Whether wheat is grown organically or conventionally, the raw flour that results hasn't been treated to kill potential pathogens. You still shouldn't eat raw dough made with Flourist flour. Flourist's flour needs refrigeration because it contains the wheat germ with its nutritious oils. The accessibility challenge is real. Try finding Flourist flour at your local grocery store. They sell primarily online and through their Vancouver locations. Prices reflect artisan production rather than industrial scale. A family watching their budget may find this cost prohibitive. Flourist offers a genuinely different product with real traceability advantages. But it's not a practical solution for every Canadian family. It's an option for those who prioritize sourcing transparency and are willing to pay premium prices and adapt their baking methods. Go check your pantry right now. Robin Hood and Five Roses, Rogers, Monarch, Golden Temple, these are all functional, safe products that meet Canadian food safety standards. The mandatory enrichment provides important nutrients, including folic acid, that prevents birth defects. The regulatory system that oversees them works, as demonstrated by effective recalls when contamination is detected. What you should consider is whether your purchasing choices align with your values around corporate consolidation, chemical processing methods, and transparency. If you prefer unbleached flour, look specifically for products labeled unbleached. If you want to support independently owned Canadian operations, research actual ownership structures rather than relying on brand heritage. If traceability matters to you, seek out producers who publish their sourcing information. Here are two brands that offer meaningful alternatives for consumers with these priorities. Number 2, Prairie Flour Mill's all-purpose flour. Prairie Flour Mills operates out of Ely, Manitoba, in the heart of Canada's Red Spring wheat country. Founded in 1998 by a group of Manitoba farmers who wanted new markets for their wheat, this is what an independently owned Canadian flour operation looks like. Prairie Flour Mills achieved organic processor status in 1998 and has maintained relationships with local farmers and grain elevators ever since. They control their supply chain from field to flour. Their organic flour is certified by the Organic Producers Association of Manitoba. This certification means no synthetic pesticides and no genetically modified organisms in the production process. For consumers who prefer organic agriculture, this is a meaningful differentiator. Important caveat. Organic certification doesn't eliminate E. coli risk. Organic wheat is still a raw agricultural product that can be contaminated in the field. Prairie Flour Mills also offers kosher certification through the Kashrut Council of Canada. You can find Prairie Flour Mills products at Walmart and Sobeys across Canada. That accessibility matters. Alternatives only help consumers if they're actually available at stores people already visit. Pricing is competitive with major brands, making organic flour accessible without significant budget strain. For consumers who prioritize organic certification, on independent Canadian ownership, and transparent supply chains, Prairie Flour Mills offers a genuine alternative to the major corporate brands. Number 1, Anita's Organic Mill. Based in Chilliwack, British Columbia, Anita's Organic Mill has been producing certified organic stone-ground flour since 1987. That's nearly 4 decades of commitment to organic production methods. Anita's uses traditional stone milling that retains the wheat germ and natural oils, creating flour with different characteristics than industrially milled products. Their flour should be stored in the refrigerator or freezer because the natural oils can become rancid at room temperature. The company sources grain from Canadian organic farms and processes it without chemical bleaching agents. For consumers who prefer unbleached flour and organic certification, this addresses both priorities. Important context. Stone milling and organic certification provide different product characteristics and support different agricultural practices. They don't make flour safer from a bacterial contamination standpoint. E. coli contamination happens in fields before harvest, regardless of farming methods. All raw flour should be handled with the same food safety practices. Anita's produces a range of flours including whole wheat, all-purpose, bread flour, and specialty grains like spelt, rye, and kamut. Products are available at natural food stores across British Columbia, Alberta, and increasingly across Canada through health food retailers. Prices are higher than conventional grocery store flour because organic farming and small-scale stone milling cost more than industrial production. You're paying for organic certification, traditional milling methods, and independent Canadian ownership. For consumers who prioritize these characteristics and can accommodate the higher cost and different storage requirements, Anita's offers a meaningfully different product from mass-market flour. Flour is foundational. It's in your bread, your pancakes, your pasta, your cookies, your cakes, your pizza dough, your pie crusts. Understanding what you're buying helps you make choices that align with your values. The mainstream brands offer consistent, safe, affordable products backed by Canada's food safety system. The alternatives offer different processing methods, ownership structures, and traceability. Neither choice is wrong. The point is making informed decisions rather than assumptions based on brand heritage or marketing. Your pantry reflects your priorities. Choose with full information. What surprised you most on this list? The corporate consolidation behind supposedly different brands, the facts about what bleaching and enrichment actually do, the reality that organic flour carries the same E. coli handling requirements? Drop a comment and let me know what matters most to you when choosing flour. If this helped you understand the Canadian flour market better, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. We're examining what's really in the products you buy every day. Thanks for watching. Stay informed. Read those labels.